Greetings, this is Frosty Thundertrod, Telnor Beastmaster of the Thunder Guard, and welcome to Last Week in Testing for October 12th through October 18th. Right now you're staring at the TSG crest because I am on the PTR. The PTR is on a visual NDA, so I can't show you what I'm doing here, but I can tell you about it. Now for the normal content. We've had a few PTR tests this week, mainly focused around raid testing. The raids were unlocked for one patch and then immediately relocked again. And then PTR's also been working on improvements to the crafting system. We've finally gotten rid of static node rarity, so you won't be able to guarantee to go to a certain node and get epic quality resources from it, which should overall reduce the amount of high quality resources that are dropping, since now it's going to be random. Much better system, because as it was now, there was just no point in having basic materials, since you could just get, heroic, epic, legendary so much easier. Now, there is going to be an iteration on the PTR on the Summoner coming up with a PTR test Tuesday. But that's for the next episode to talk about. When the changes to the raids was presented on Shoal, exploit was found and raids were immediately disabled again, so we're back here on PTR testing them and trying to figure out what's going on. So that pretty much sums up this week, but has an extra special. Since I am on a summoner right now, I am going to go through the summoner skill tree. At the very bottom, at level 1, you can choose, as soon as you get into the game, you choose your first summons. In my case, I chose the Hunter. Alright, then the next row up, you have Defensive Transmutation. Your pet's physical defense now scales with your magic defense, and its magic defense now scales with your physical defense. So basically this inverts it, because normally its physical defense scales off your physical defense, its magical defense scales off of your magical defense. But by doing this, it inverts it. It swaps it around. So what this is if you're in all light gear with lots of magic defense, but your pet's getting up and close, if you take this skill, that turns your magic defense into its physical defense. It's a great option for many people to consider. But now, for me, since I wear heavy armor on my summoner, I don't use this skill. And it is a passive, so it's always on. Next up is Hex. Costs 5 mana. Has 30 meter range. Hex deals 200% arcane damage to the target upon expiration. Alright, it applies Hex to the target for 30 seconds. Your Spirit Shred, Disintegrate, and Summoned Vessels basic attacks reduces Hex's durations by 1 second per hit. The weapon combo finishers reduces it by 2. So you put this on your enemy, and then you start attacking it or casting your other spells on it, and then once the countdown hits 0, it's basically a bomb, a 200% arcane damage bomb on the target. It's a good ability. It's something you have to be cognitive in using, it's not just a spell that you cast and it goes boom. This is a spell that takes a little bit of setup. Next up is Mortal Blast. 4 mana, 12-second cooldown. 30 meters range. Deals 125% necrotic damage to target enemy and 100% necrotic damage to enemies in an area around your target. This one is a bit tricky to use if you're trying to control your aggro. So this is something I use conditionally, only when I'm in a group and I have a tank to manage my aggro for me. Reconstruction, 13 mana, 15-second cooldown, 40-meter range, 1-second cast. Heals your active vessel, which is your pet, for 150 healing power every 2 seconds over 10 seconds. This is a pretty strong heal for your pet. Disintegrate, 7 mana, 30-second cooldown, 30-meter range, 5.4-second cast. Channel a beam of energy at target enemy, periodically dealing 60% necrotic damage per tick. Gradually applies 3 stacks of snared over its duration. This is a pretty strong ability, really. It hits hard, and the snared makes it so much easier to control your aggression. So this is a skill that I definitely take right away. Spectral Binding, 7 mana, 30-meter range, 20-second cooldown, applies rooted to target enemy. Another thing that helps you kite and stay alive. Inspiration, your summoned vessel moves 10% faster and its basic attacks generate 1 additional essence. This is a passive ability, so it makes your summons faster and it helps you regain mana. Alright, so third row up. You can now choose your second summons. And in addition, in that same row, you have Explosive Hex, Exposing Hex, not exploding. Hex applies exposed to the target upon detonation. And then, exposed, taking 25% more damage from all debuff sources. Occultism. Upon hitting a target under the effect of your hex, Mortal Blast deals 25% more damage to that target and reduces its duration by 2 seconds. So this is another passive that makes it so that your hex explodes quicker if you hit it with Mortal Blast. Then last one on this row is Weapon Combo Finishers is Re-Energizing Disintegrate. Weapon Combo Finishers reduces Disintegrate's cooldown by 3 seconds. Which I use the wand, and the wand's fairly fast attacking, so I can get those combo finishers fairly quickly. This is a great passive to have. Fourth row. Quaking Stump. Applies snared to the target hits and applies rooted if the target is snared or tripped or if the target is rooted instead. This is a passive ability, but it applies to your guardian pet. Next one is Galvanic Evisceration. Evisceration applies volatile to target, applies 3 stacks of shocked if the target is volatile. Alright, volatile. Magic defense is reduced by 15%, lasts for 6 seconds. Duration can be extended up to 15 seconds by subsequent applications. Shocked. Incoming direct attack procs an additional 25% lightning damage and consumes the stack, lasts 6 seconds. So if your target is shocked and you hit them while they have a stack of shocked on them, has a 25% chance of doing lightning damage. Not a bad ability. Next row up, we have Body and Spirit. Spirit Shred and Mortal Blast restore 20% of their damage dealt as health and 5% as mana to your vessel. This is a passive ability, so with this you can constantly keep healing your pet. Bond. While toggled active, 25% of the damage received is redirected to your summoned vessel. This is something that I use a lot for my playstyle because I generally use the hunter pet. So I pull aggression onto myself so that my hunter can get behind the target and deal additional damage. So Bond is something I use to reduce my damage. Amplify. 8 mana, 40 meters range, 1 minute cooldown, 1 second cast. Grant a buff to your summoned vessel, increases its power, mitigation, and physical, magical, and movement speeds by 25% for 10 seconds. Essence generated by all sources is doubled while this effect is active. So yeah, it's a fairly strong buff, and it helps your mana recovery. That's one thing I have noticed with the summoner, is the summoner has no mana issues at all. Dimensional Bolt, 4 mana, 1 second cast, 30 meter range. Launch a bolt towards a target enemy, dealing 150% arcane damage on hit. Activate again within 5 seconds of hitting the target to teleport your active vessel to its location. Hunter vessels are teleported behind the target. Triggers a 12-second cooldown after the teleport window is used or expired. This is a great ability. It's spammable, and the fact that you can use it to put your melee pet right on top of the enemy is great. Not so great, however, if you're using the the spiritualist, because the spiritualist doesn't necessarily want to be right up front the way the hunter or the guardian is. Shear. Applied shear to target enemy. 5 mana, 30 meter range, 15 second cooldown, 1.4 second cast. Sheared dispels 1 buff upon application, plus an additional buff every 3 seconds over 6 seconds. I would say this one is kind of situational, because most buffs in this game are very short duration, so removing a buff really is not that beneficial. Alright, next ability, Extract Vessel, 10 Essence, 22 second cast time, 40 meter range. Transfer health from your active vessel to yourself equal to 20% of its maximum health. If the Spirit Mystic is active, overhealing from this ability is converted into a temporary health on the caster for 10 seconds. Yeah, this is I would say it's a keystone ability. It's something that you need. Once again, especially the way I play, if I'm doing tanking for my pet to do the DPSing, stealing some of its health, which then I can heal back to it, is a great ability. Siphon Vessel. 30 Essence, 40 meter range, 2 second cast. Transfer mana from your active vessel to yourself, equal to 10% of its maximum mana. This is kind of pointless, because like I said, the summoner has no problems with mana whatsoever. Go the next row up, Mutual Bond. While Bond is active, 25% of the damage you receive by your summoned vessel is redirected to you. This is a passive ability, and what it does is it reverses the effect of your mutual bond, of your bond. So this is a way to help keep your pet alive at your expense. Problem is, this is a passive and not a toggle, so you either have it or you don't. Parasitism. While under the effect of Amplify, your active vessel returns 100% of the damage it deals has health to itself, and the health and mana received from body and spirit is doubled. So this is a drain tank. Makes your pet into a drain tank. I would say this is a good ability to take if you're running either the hunter or the guardian. And then in this row is also when you get to choose your third summons, which of course. Now there is a bit of a trick. While you get to choose your summons, 1, 2, and 3, you can swap the summons in each slot whenever you want. Eviscerating Shear. Shear drains mana from your target to your active vessel each tick. This might be useful if you are running the Mystic, because the Mystic does use mana and it can run low on mana, so Eviscerating Shear will give your Mystic more mana. Otherwise, this is a skip it, and it is a passive. Alright, next line up, Transpose. Teleport yourself and your active vessel to one another's location, swapping positions. I would say this is kind of a situational ability. This might be most useful if you're using the Mystic that's in ranged mode and you get aggression. That way you can swap with your Mystic and maybe get out of range. Because chances are whatever was attacking you is still gonna chase after you. Problem with using it against if you have the melee, is your melee is gonna be right there, so making that swap isn't gonna be all that effective. Phase out. 8 mana, 45-second cooldown, 0.7 second cast. You and your vessel become immaterial for 4 seconds, gaining immunity to all hostile actions, while also not being able to activate any abilities for the duration. This is your oh shit, the tank lost aggro button. Because 4 seconds should, if you're in a group and you draw aggro, 4 seconds should be enough time for your tank to reacquire aggro. Soul Flare. Launch an orb of spirit energy towards your summoned vessel, erupts in a wave of energy upon contact, dealing 200% spirit damage and applying stun to surrounding enemies. And stun just means cannot move or act. That's 30-second cooldown, 1.4 second cast. If you're using the Guardian or the Hunter, this is a great ability. If you're using the Mystic, not so much. Alright, next ability is Suppression Ray. 10 mana, 45-second cooldown, 30-meter range, 4-second cast. Channel suppressive energy into the target enemy, applying silence and exhausted to the target over its duration. Alright, silence. Cannot use abilities. Last 4 seconds. Exhausted. Cannot use stamina. Abilities last 4 seconds. So, silence means it can't cast spells. Exhausted means you can't dodge, block, or sprint. So that is a great ability. Mass Affliction. 11 mana, 30-second cooldown, 30-meter range, 3.4 second cast. Inflicts a damage over time upon enemies within the target area of effect, dealing 50% necrotic damage every 2 seconds over 10 seconds. Applies weakened to targets upon activation. Weakened means physical speed is reduced by 25% for 8 seconds. Duration can be extended up to 20 seconds by subsequent activations. So I think I would call this slowed, not weakened, but I'm guessing when it says physical speed, it means the attack speed of physical weapons, not, your movement speed, because movement speed's generally referred to specifically as movement speed. This is something that might be useful in a group, but I really don't like AoE. The last one in this row is Void. 16 mana, 1 minute cooldown, 30 meters range, 2.7-second cast. Conjure a disturbance in reality upon the target location, applying silence and dealing 30% arcane damage each second to the enemies that remain inside. This is a ground target AoE, which is a little bit better because at least you can set it to a circumstance where you're only hitting one enemy, but it takes a little bit more care. I would say go ahead and take it because you won't. There will be times when you do need an AoE, and this is probably the best AoE you can get. The one problem in it is if you're fighting in a horde or something where the enemies are running around a lot, this is a fairly long cast time. So if you try to set it under your enemies, they'll be somewhere else by the time it's done casting. So you have to try to predict where they're going to be in 2.7 seconds. Final row. Unyielding Phase Out. Phase Out breaks all disabling effects on the caster and their active vessel. So not only are you immune to damage and can't deal any damage, but now you can't be disabled anymore, so that means you can run away freely. This is a passive ability. And the last ability, Prolonged Affliction. Extends Mass Affliction duration by 2 seconds and reduces its cooldown by 5 seconds. Further extends Mass Affliction's duration by 4 seconds on targets under the effect of your Shred Spirit. So, this is a passive ability. It's not toggled, it's just passive. So, that's where we stand right now with the Summoner. There's going to be some more revisions to it. But right now, it is a very interesting archetype with a unique playstyle. This is something where you have to play a Summoner to understand Summoner. You know, this isn't something you can just jump in. You know, like if you play a tank, a warrior, or a rogue, you can kind of switch between the three relatively easily, especially the warrior. You can especially go into tank to warrior or rogue to warrior very easily. So if you play a summoner, you got a main summoner to really understand and maximize this. Bard is that way too. If you play a bard, you need the main bard. But this is it for today. Thank you very much for watching.